Welcome to the Jared Williams Show. Today we got a special guest on, Mr. Tristan Lands from Tennessee's Choice. Is it Tennessee's with an S?
It is.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool. I can't see it. Your shirt's folded over a little bit.
I'll fix that.
Tennessee's Choice Plumbing, all the way from Tennessee. What is it? Where do you live in Tennessee?
Northwest Tennessee. So it's about 8 hours northwest of here. Basically, right northwest corner. We're 20 minutes from Kentucky. So
20 minutes from Kentucky. What's the name of the town?
Dresden.
Dresden.
Yeah.
That sounds
Very
fun.
small town, about 3,000 people. So
Oh, cool.
it's been interesting to run a plumbing business from there. Just the challenges from it, the just personal relationships that you have, but then it's just our service area is so big because we can't just drive 5 minutes between calls.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
it's been a challenge for sure.
Yep.
But a good challenge.
Heck yeah, they're all good. They're all fun. And so I saw you've been in my program for a while now, yeah?
Yeah, probably a year, maybe not quite a year.
Cool.
I don't know.
Cool. And then I actually met you in person at Mitchy Mitch's event.
Yes.
I always want to, he's Mitch Spedley. Is that right?
Yes.
Did I say that right?
Yeah.
So whenever I hear the word Mitch, I think Mitch Hedberg. You ever watch his comedy? Dude.
I probably have. But
He's dead now,
okay.
but his comedy is funny.
Yeah.
It's like dry, dumb humor. I like it.
I would probably like it then. I'll have to check it out.
You have to check it out. Yeah, it's pretty good. So I heard your story at Mitch's event, which was super cool. And so you're in Tennessee. I know you have, how many employees do you have at this point?
5.
You've got, and that's, how many technicians do you have?
So I have like 3.5, I guess. So I have a female apprentice that I just bought another van for. So she's kind of in that awkward stage where if we can run calls, me and her are in the van running calls together. And then hopefully at some point this year, I'll have her start going out on her own a little bit more.
Cool.
So,
taking all the easy ones.
yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then obviously I have a CSR as well. So.
Cool. And then there's you.
Yep.
Is your wife involved in the business at all?
No, she's full-time stay-at-home mom. So
Cool.
she was a CNA and then found out she was pregnant. And so, I mean, maybe she likes staying at home.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary to think about crossing that boundary in our relationship. And so I don't know if it would be good or not. I'm sure we could figure it out, but I don't know.
If it makes you feel better, my wife worked in the business for like a few months and that was it.
Yeah.
And then she I'm pretty unorganized. And so she came in, she was a teacher. She came in and I don't even know what you call it, like did like a rubrics. I don't know. She helped set up all the SOPs and everything.
Okay.
So like all the SOPs that you guys get in the course, she set up the like foundation for those, the outline. And then I went in and wrote all the parts and pieces because I had no idea where to start.
Yeah.
And we didn't have ChatGPT back then. So she just figured it out and came in and got us kind of organized. And then she was like, I'm out.
Yeah.
She was like, she wrote thank you cards for a long time. She would never answer phones.
Yeah.
She was like, hell no, I'm not doing that. and honestly, me and her do not work well together.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I'm too mean. Like I expect more out of my wife than I do any other employee.
I could see that. Yeah.
And she just wants to hang out. So she'll ask for my help on things. I'm like, I know you can do this on your own. Anyway, that's a whole nother podcast. Maybe I'll have her on here someday.
Hey, that'd be cool.
Be cool. So tell us how you got to like where you're at today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Way back.
Way back.
Way back.
Way back. Time. I was born in 1999.
1999.
You want to know that? So do what?
26?
25.
25.
Right? I'll be 26
26
in June. So
cool.
I want to say next month, but it's not quite May yet.
You gotta say you're working on your 26th year.
Yes.
That's what I always say.
Yeah. I'm good until I turn 30. Then I'm gonna start feeling old. I'm okay right now, but
dude, 30 is downhill from 35.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
How old are you now?
I just turned 40.
You just turned
So I'm
40.
working on my 41st.
Okay, nice,
That
nice.
pisses my wife off. That's why I say it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
She thinks it's dumb.
Hey, I like it. I'm gonna start saying it now.
There you go.
But
Cool. You can help start the movement.
right,
Yeah.
yeah. Started in Tennessee.
There you go.
But, yeah, I was born in '99. I grew up in Central Illinois, so, about 2.5 hours south of Chicago.
Oh, cool.
Lived in the same town my whole life. Small town, about 3,500 people, so very similar to where I live now in Tennessee.
Cool.
And graduated high school. I was dating a girl at the time who I thought was the one,
Mm-hmm.
and so my immediate family, my mom, my stepdad, my 2 younger siblings, they moved to Tennessee, cheaper living, just different politics,
Yep.
Because Illinois is very expensive to live.
Yeah.
I mean, it's if you work hard, it's not a big deal, but there's a lot of benefits of being in Tennessee too. So, I
Yep.
was planning on going down there with them, going to college, decided to stay in Illinois, went to community college. I was going to be a police officer. So I didn't
Cool.
really know what I wanted to do with my life. Never thought I would be in the trades, that's for sure. So I remember a conversation I had with my mom. It was definitely my senior year of high school. And she's like, "So what are you going to do?" And I was mad, like rebellious at the time. And I knew they wanted me to go to college. And I was like, I'm just not going to go to school. And just, we had the biggest fight over it because, at the time, which she's my CSR now. So it's kind of funny to look back now because I didn't use my college at all for where I'm at.
Yep.
And at the time, neither of us really realized where you can get to without schooling.
Yeah.
And so, but I'm glad I went to school. I did that for about a year. Started college in August of 17, and in October of 17, I started working for a plumbing company as a shop guy.
Mm-hmm.
So my uncle owned a plumbing HVAC company, and kind of my side job would be to tear apart all these HVAC units so he could scrap them.
Yep.
It's kind of a dirty job,
Yep.
very oily. And
Yeah.
so I was working at a grocery store, mad one day, making like $8.25 an hour or
Yep.
something. And so I just quit. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm like, "Hey, Uncle Troy, can I get like a real job, instead of cutting scrap up?" And so he said, "Actually, you can kind of be a shop guy." And so about a week went by, and he said, "So I bought out a plumbing company, and one of the plumbers has a DUI, and so I need somebody to drive him around." And so that's kind of what got my foot in the door. I was making like $10 an hour
Yeah.
driving around this guy. And I haven't always had the best mindset. I haven't always been the best worker, and so even in that time when I was still very immature,
Mm-hmm.
I still saw the value in learning. And so I thought, well, I'll at least pick something up while I'm driving this guy around, maybe I can apply it at my house one day,
Yeah.
and so he ended up probably teaching me 70% of what I know, just day to day, driving him around while I was going to college part time. So
That's cool.
yeah, we still stay in touch. It was a fun experience. It's one of those things like, there's a quote from The Office, like, "I wish I knew I was in the good old days when I was in it,"
Yeah.
But
Yep.
no, it was a good time doing that. So,
Yeah. I slightly similar. I started in high school working at a shop. My father, so I got my wife pregnant when we were like 12. Not literally 12, but like I think I was 16 when she got pregnant, and then 17 when you met him, homeboy in the front office was
Yes.
born. And so senior year of high school, I I only had a few classes I spent. When I got out of high school, I'd go work at the shop that my father-in-law worked at. We weren't married at the time, but, um, so my girlfriend's dad at the time,
Yeah.
he worked at Western Mechanical, and they were like, "We need a yard guy." So I started as a yard guy,
Nice.
and then I'd go deliver parts. It was funny because they got me like those guys got me smoking. They're they're the ones who got me drinking. Like it was funny, but yeah, that's how I got started.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I finished my first year. I was doing full-time college, part-time chauffeuring, I guess. I don't know what you want to
Uh-huh.
call it, but and then after my first year, I kind of realized I didn't want to go to a 4-year school because I was able, between the grants that I had, I was able to stay out of debt going to community college. And so it was go to a 4-year school and get 40 to $80,000 in debt, or I'm already in this plumbing thing. I can make
Mhm.
pretty good money. Maybe I could do that, you know.
Did you ever see what the guy you were driving around was making? Like, was there talks about like, did you kind of have an
Uh,
idea?
I knew, I knew he was. I don't know exactly what he was making, but I know it was good. It
Mhm.
was probably in the $80,000 range,
Yep.
and um, now they're probably making more. But
Yeah.
back then, I mean, being a police officer, I probably would have maxed out at 50 to 60,000
Yep.
somewhere, you know, plus all this student loan debt that I was gonna have.
Yep.
So that summer, I decided go all in, do plumbing. So I got on an apprenticeship card because Illinois is like, I think it's like 48 or 50-month apprenticeship, and you have to be on on a card.
Yep.
I think you can have two apprentices, two 1 to 2 year apprentices on your plumbing card, and then one or two 3 to 4 year apprentices on your plumbing card. So it's kind of hard to find a spot
Yeah.
if you're at a good company, you know.
Gotcha.
So did that, and I decided I was already halfway through my community college. I was just gonna finish it up online, and so I switched to online college, full-time plumbing, and say probably about 6 months into my apprenticeship, I started running my own van a little bit, you know, changing a fill valve here or there, um, swapping a toilet. I did a lot of plumbing maintenances where I drained the water heater, descaled the
Yep.
tankless. I remember my first call, it was a Toto toilet fill valve, and I was terrified. Just, I mean, I was like, I don't know if I can handle this. I told the office lady, I was like, you might want to send somebody else to that because I just don't know if I can do it, you know. And I mean, it went fine,
Yep.
but just when you don't have confidence, it's scary.
Yeah.
So, um, so yeah, I worked there for about 2.5 years. I got kind of into COVID at that point,
Mhm.
and kind of got myself into some financial trouble. I started just swiping credit cards left and right, and just kind of needed a fresh start, I guess. If I would have stayed in Illinois, I financially probably wouldn't have made it just because I wasn't making the greatest at the time. I think I was making like 1650
Mhm.
running a van plus spiffs, which sometimes are good, sometimes weren't, depending
Mhm.
on, you know, how busy you were. And not to mention all the I had like $25,000 in credit card debt. Like it
Front
was,
row.
as a 19-year-old, 20-year-old, it was like stupid.
Yep.
And so I kind of thought about moving to Tennessee just cuz I liked being around my mom and my younger siblings. One of them's 16 now, the other one probably going to get in trouble for this cuz I don't know how old he is. He's probably 13, somewhere in there. So I kind of miss seeing them grow up,
Mhm.
being 6 hours away, and so I visited them a lot. Really thought about moving down there. Got into this financial mess, and I was like, well, I guess this might be a sign. Owned a house in Illinois. I bought it when I was 19, which was a great benefit of starting a plumbing career so young. You know, you could do things like that if
Yeah.
and it would have been good for my financial future if I wouldn't have been so stupid with all my other purchases. But ended up selling that in like 4 days and found a job immediately in Tennessee.
Because that was
And
during the big
yes,
COVID housing
yeah,
boom.
it was actually. I wish I would have held on to it for like 6 months because I probably could have doubled my money.
Yeah.
But it was right at the start. But I don't think I could have made another house payment with how financially of a mess I was in.
Yeah.
So worked out good for me. Got a pay bump when I moved to Tennessee, but kind of did the same thing there. Service plumbing. It was just the size difference. The company I worked for in Illinois was, at the time, they had over 100 employees. They
Oh,
did new
cool.
construction, HVAC, the service. There's probably like 8 service guys in the plumbing department. To this company that's just husband, wife, 2 other employees, and me.
Yeah.
So it was like completely different.
So that the company in Tennessee, were they charging decent prices?
No, so they're my competition now.
Or
But
sorry, the company in Illinois,
um,
the big company.
the in my it works for them
Uh-huh.
what they're charging, but compared to where I'm at now,
Mhm.
they're probably like half to 3/4 of our pricing.
Yeah.
It works for them because I think they have the volume. They have 2,000 service plans, like all this stuff, and it works for them.
So I've seen a lot of those companies' books, and they run service as like a charity
Yeah,
rather than like they'll have service install and then like commercial. And they're like, yeah, our service, you can't make money at service,
yeah,
is their thought.
yeah,
I'm like, no, you can definitely make money at service. They just view it as like a loss leader.
yeah.
It's a weird thing to me.
I definitely heard that when I was working there.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was my uncle's company. So, I mean, I respected what they did. I still do. They're great.
Yeah.
I know when I was there, they definitely weren't very profitable. If they were, I think that's kind of turned around. There's been some leadership changes there.
Cool.
But I know when I was brought in, it was kind of like, oh, people kind of looked down on the service department because it was almost there to service the new builds,
Yeah.
if they
Yeah.
had issues and stuff.
Yep.
So, but then this company in Tennessee, they were definitely charging a lot less than where I was at in Illinois. I think we were at maybe like 105 an hour, I think is what they started out at, which to me in the moment I didn't think was bad.
Uh-huh.
You still had people pushing back on price, but
Uh-huh.
I got a pay bump then too. I think I was making $21 or $22 an hour when I started.
Yeah.
So, but it was night and day difference. I went from 40 to 50 hour weeks with some on call to 60 to 70 hour weeks, and every third week I was on call. So
Yeah.
it was exhausting, but it was good because I needed as much money as I could get to get out of my debt. And so I was able to pay off all my debt in like 9 months or something.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah, so I was able to start over. I had to move back in with my parents, but I don't think I would be where I'm at today without having a failure like that, because owning a business, there's so much discipline financially with it.
Yep.
I've seen so many guys that I've worked with before that they're robbing Peter to pay Paul,
Mhm.
and so I feel like I probably could have done the same thing had I not learned a very valuable lesson,
Yeah, definitely.
So, but I got really exhausted doing that. I did that for about a year and a half, and over time, just the atmosphere there was not good. Just getting cussed out daily. I knew my worth, and I showed up every day, didn't call in sick. Just worked hard every day. There's mistakes
Yeah.
that I would make. I would always learn from them. I try not to do the same thing twice.
Yeah.
I kind of that job gave me a lot of confidence though, because I feel like I worked my way up to number one tech there, and
Mhm.
so it gave me a lot of confidence.
How many guys were you working with?
So when I started, there was 2 others. When I left, there was probably, like, 4 or 5 other guys, so but they ran 2 guys to a van, so it was a little bit different, from how I operate now or when I started my career, it was
Yeah.
1 guy per van.
Yep.
So, I was able to really get close with this guy I was riding with, and, me and him really connected personally, and he didn't quite have as much plumbing experience, so he kinda leaned on me, and then I kinda leaned on him socially just because I didn't know the area or anything, and
Mhm.
so we really became good friends,
Cool.
and he was super into he still is, like, David Goggins, I'm blanking on some of the other guys, but just these hard ass dudes that
Yeah.
are always like, "Go, go, go." And he was in the military too, so he'd always had me listening to things like that. And one day he's like, we could really start a business. And I thought, yeah, you're crazy, but I guess. Um, but over a few months, he kept saying, we really could do this. Like, I have the connections, we have the knowledge together to start this. And he's like, I need a commitment from you if you're gonna do this. And I was like, okay, I'll do it. And in the back of my head, I was like, I just don't know.
Were
And so
you married yet?
I was not. So um, while I was working for the company in Tennessee, I broke up with my longtime girlfriend. So I was single for about a year and a half before I met my wife. But this was that period, so I didn't really have much to lose,
Yeah.
you know.
Yep.
But just over time, working at that job, my tempers really got bad. I had like back to back 70-hour weeks, and just my attitude got bad, my
Yep.
tempers got bad. It just wasn't good. And
What were they yelling at you about?
just one time I needed a jetter.
Uh-huh.
Uh and he's like, "Man, you always need the jetter." And I said, "Man, I've been cabling this sewer line for like 3 hours. It's sludged up. I can't get it. We have a jetter sitting at the shop. Can I have it?" And he's like, "You don't always need a jetter. You always like trying to say I half-assed everything, trying to get through it, just." And I had another situation. We were doing a drain repipe, and this particular house, all the cast iron was buried. And the guy that sold it sold them an outside clean out, replacing everything under the house. Everything in Tennessee, by the way, is on crawl space. So there's no basements, very, very few anyway.
Gotcha.
So anyway, he would not bring me a sewer camera so I could locate this outside clean out. So I spent literally all day in this crawl space with a mini shovel, following this sewer trench all the way back to the foundation wall so we could find out where the clean out was on the other side. And we worked till like 10 o'clock that night just because he wouldn't bring me a sewer camera.
Yep.
And like little things like that, just not feeling appreciated. Because where I worked in Illinois, I was appreciated. We didn't always go golfing or whatever, but you could tell you were appreciated, you were valued.
Yep.
And going to a place where I was just a number, and I was never a good enough number.
Do you think that, like, my guess is that that guy was probably frustrated because he wasn't making any money, and that led to him just pushing his guys. Like, he was, in my mind, it's discounting your customer to screw over your employee.
Yeah.
And then you realize you're screwing over yourself, and so you blame your employees and start pushing them even harder. You think that's what was going on?
I could definitely see that.
Yeah.
Their pricing hasn't changed much. It's definitely gone up a little bit. But his mentality too was kind of a dictatorship. No one's going to be better than me.
Yeah.
You're going to listen to me. You're not going to have different ideas than me.
Yep.
And we kind of clashed heads, and I didn't intentionally, go there to start problems. But, I spent my whole career in Illinois working towards this license. It's a 50-month thing.
Yep.
I moved to Tennessee. It's a completely different thing. It's an open book 40-question test. You only have to provide a year experience to take it. And so I remember my first week working for this guy. I said, "Hey, do you care if I go get my license?" Which I didn't need his permission or anything. I could have got it. He said, "Yeah, I would care. I would not appreciate that at all." I was like, Well, what do you mean? He's like, you don't need your license. You work under my license. Okay. Okay. And so it was just that mindset where he didn't want anybody to be even close to his level.
Yeah.
And so me just trying to be the best person I could,
Mhm.
we really clashed a lot with that. I had some, I did things a little different than he wanted to, and it was not that I was wrong and he was right. Just you and I could go
Yeah.
both plumb a house and it would be different a
Yeah,
little
mine
bit.
would be better, but
Right, probably.
no, I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
probably.
I'm
But
just kidding.
no, and I think it was a lot of that, and I think he was convinced from that conversation that we had when I first started that I was always gonna leave. And
Mhm.
every time me and him ever had a conversation, he'd be like, "Are you gonna leave and start your own business?" No, I genuinely wasn't. Like, that
Mhm.
wasn't anything I wanted to do. It's kind of funny looking back now. He's the reason why I'm where I'm at because he was so paranoid about it
Yeah.
to begin with.
Yeah.
So one day we got into it, and he cussed me out. He told me I did shit work. I was a shit worker, and I didn't appreciate that because I was bringing them in a lot, like I was their number one guy, and so I just went in with a horrible attitude from that point on, and so a couple weeks went by. He's like, "You need to change your attitude," and I said, "I need to be treated different, or I'm gone. Like I'm not gonna do this." And he said, "Well, I'm not gonna apologize to you." He said, "There's nothing I do wrong here." I talked to him about, hey, just show us some appreciation. Maybe take us golfing or just do something besides giving us a
Just
paycheck.
say thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and he said, "I don't believe in handouts like that." And I said, "You don't have to worry about anything else." I said, "I'm just gonna go ahead and quit." And so I went out to my van, started emptying my stuff. And so my coworker, who is always pushing to, "Hey, let's go, go, go," he told me, "If you ever quit, dude, I'm quitting with you." And so I went up to him and I said, "Well, I'm out of here." And I said, "Don't ruin your future just because I'm gone." And he said, "Okay." So drove away, got home, just was super frustrated. Just I remember just pulling in the driveway, like kind of tearing up, like, what do I do?
Mhm.
Because I'd never done something like that before, just out of anger, just quit a job. And 5 minutes later, he pulls into my driveway. He had quit too, and he left. And
Nice.
so we're standing there, and he's like, "Let's start this business." And so that was that was a Tuesday morning. Um, by that next Monday, we had a logoed van stocked, and we were running calls. So I emptied my bank account. He had the connections, and we started up a partnership that was TC Plumbing. His name's Clayton. My name's Tristan. So just something super basic.
Yep.
Knowing what I know now, probably would have done things a little different, but it worked
Yep.
to get us going.
Yeah.
So, um, and we did that for a while. It worked out good. We made okay money. We made enough, but we had no idea what we were doing.
Yeah.
I wish I would have stayed where I was and informed myself a little bit more. But maybe I wouldn't be where I'm at today if I wouldn't have just made the jump either.
Yeah.
But we kind of learned from failures.
Yep.
And not just business failures. I only had 4.5 years of plumbing experience at that point. So I didn't know everything.
Yep.
And I mean, I still don't,
Mhm.
but there was things I'd look at and they'd be like, "You know how to do this?" Absolutely I do. And I get back to the van on YouTube, or whatever, like,
Yep.
but we figured it out,
Dude, I'd never done a lick of service when I started a service company.
Really?
There was a lot of YouTubing.
Yeah.
There was a lot of, "Yes, ma'am, I got you covered. Don't worry about it." And then YouTube.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's so much different than new construction, but it really helped me because I was so service in
Mhm.
Illinois. Then I moved to Tennessee and I was a little bit of everything, sewer line digs, repipes, and service. Whatever I sold, I was pretty much doing. And so that really helped me kind of expand my knowledge a little bit. We were charging like $85 an hour when we started. So
Yep.
it was nuts, and, I mean, we made enough, but his wife was stay at home. I was single, and, he had to make a certain amount, and I didn't wanna pay myself less than what he was making because we were partners, and so we kinda struggled with that a lot just with the pay. We kinda upped our rates. I think we went up to, like, 115, 125 an hour,
Yep.
and I kinda made us a little homemade flat rate price book. It worked. It wasn't great, but it got us through. We eventually got a second van. We brought on an employee, and, but what I started to find out was we were really good coworkers when we weren't managing because we were so different that we were so different in our personal lives, but
Mhm.
it came together to be really good friends,
Yep.
but that didn't really work as business owners.
Yep.
I where I started my career, I saw this 100 plus person company. I saw where I could be
Yeah.
one day, and that is the sky's the limit.
Yep.
And he had a family. He still has his family, but um, and he wanted to be home at 5, 6 o'clock,
Yeah.
4 o'clock, and so we started really butting heads because I wanted to go this way, he wanted to go that way,
Yep.
and so we made a promise to ourselves, when we started, like, our friendship comes first. We're not gonna ruin our friendship over this business. And so there was one day, I kind of just took the phone from him because we would swap every week. We had a Verizon cell phone that we used as our office number, and I never really gave it back to him after that because there was things that he did or didn't do that I wasn't happy with, and
Mhm.
so I kinda just took the reins at that point, and a few weeks later, it just got to the point where it was like, "Look, both of our hearts aren't in this where we want it, so let's just go our separate ways." And so over that weekend, I evaluated our business, what we had in our bank account, our vans, our debt, things like that, and so I think I came up with like a $48,000 evaluation, and so I offered him $25,000, and, I don't think he knows this, but if he wasn't gonna take that, I was just gonna walk away and just say, "Look, I don't know what we're gonna do, but we're done. Like, I'm not continuing this anymore." And
Yep.
so, luckily, he took it. That day was his last day, and so
What gave you the insight to do that?
to
Like,
to
just
buy him out,
yeah. Had you heard about that anywhere else, or
just
because like that's like a foreign concept to
to
like
buy somebody out.
well, like I was in your shoes. I had a partner, and it was the same thing. Like
Yeah,
we were worked really well together because we were so different.
yeah.
Became really good friends at work. But then when we owned a company, we wanted two totally different things.
Mhm.
He wanted to work all the time and do commercial work. I wanted to work less and do residential work, and it didn't work out.
Yeah.
But I didn't have the thought to buy him out.
Really?
I just said, "You take it, I don't want it."
Really?
Yeah,
Um,
and it still exists today. It's J&J
okay.
Mechanical instead of T&C
Got
TC
gotcha.
Plumbing. Yeah, it's kinda funny.
Pretty similar,
Very
that's
similar,
crazy.
yeah.
I think just talking with my family is what got me to that point. Nothing that I can remember specifically,
Mhm.
but I didn't feel that I could walk away, like, I felt like I've obviously, I had some money tied into it, and
Yeah.
to me, that the business has always kinda been, like, my life, and
Mhm.
so I didn't feel like I could just walk away because half of that was mine,
Mhm.
and so my thinking was either I buy his half or I take my half and I
Yep.
go do something else with it.
Yeah.
So that's what I did, and it was really scary because that was like 2/3 of the money we had in our bank account, and just it was very stressful to go from 2 vans to 1
Yep.
and it being just me.
Yep.
So, we had an apprentice at the time, but, it was just me. I mean, he could help what he knew, but he wasn't near running a van or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, Um, so, a few weeks went by. We got our papers drawn up for our dissolution and everything. And so we just, I went to the lawyer's office. We signed our papers, gave him the check, and I started driving home and it just hit me like, this is all on me now.
Yeah.
And I had thought about it before and I would get so excited. Like, I can't imagine just saying, this is mine,
Yeah.
but it just hit me and it felt like this huge just wave of stress and just anxiety and
Yeah.
that I couldn't do it, and I just over the next few months, I just got really down. Like I don't know how my business made it through other than my apprentice kind of stepping up and I felt obligated to take care of him and
Mhm.
his family. You were talking about that with Dalton Hatch the other day.
Yeah.
Just I
You ever met Dalton?
no,
Dude, he's
I
awesome.
did not know he was that type of guy, like that the personality he had till I
Yeah.
listened to the podcast.
Yeah.
So
He's a cool guy.
I follow him on Facebook and I always just thought he was just this like gruff, mean kind of
Yep.
plumber and
Yep.
listen to this podcast. I'm like, who the heck is this guy?
Yeah, he's a big teddy bear.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a
But
cool
he had
dude,
a
though.
cool story though. It
He
was
does.
it was really awesome.
Yeah.
But one of the things he said that stuck out to me was just how he felt obligated to take care of these people.
Yep.
They have families and
Yeah.
I had given up on myself, but I knew I couldn't give up on him.
Yep.
And so that was enough to get me through until I got like the mental health that I needed.
Yeah.
So it was tough though. It was really low point. I didn't answer the phone. I wouldn't text people back. Like I truly don't know how we made it through all that. So
Yeah.
it was just crazy.
Were you like one of the only? I mean, it was a small town. Like,
Mhm.
your old boss is there.
Yeah. That was probably what helped me out was that I wasn't him.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's funny, he had the reputation of being ridiculously expensive and which he's not.
Right.
And
He probably just doesn't provide value.
yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
And so I came in and I was just wasn't him, and so that's where I got a lot of my business from was, "Oh, I don't wanna use him, so
Yeah.
here's my only other option." And so that's probably what got me through that point was
Cool.
that. Um, but I kind of started getting into the mentorship kind of programs. I hadn't quite found you yet, but I
Mhm.
found another company, Tradewinds, and so I kinda hopped on that bandwagon, still part of them.
Yeah.
But just being able to be around like-minded individuals and lean on them
Yeah.
really helped me out, not just my mental health, but just what I could do with the business too.
Yep.
I went from these 2 white cargo vans that I was putting in the shop all the time to eventually getting enough cash in the bank where I could buy a Transit and get it wrapped but the first thing with it was pricing.
Yeah.
Just figuring out my hourly rate. I went from 125 to 225 and then I bumped up to 300 and then I've gone up since then, but
Is that scary?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Because I knew my competitor, he was putting in 40-gallon water heaters for $865, electric water heaters.
Dude,
and
we can't even buy them for that.
I
in
know.
Alaska.
Yeah, and so I think he bumped him up to 1,000 right before I left, but I remember working for him, it was 865, and he was known as expensive, and so to my first jump to 225 was terrifying because it was it was so much different. I was coming in almost double on some of the things than he was, and we got a lot of pushback. A lot of people dislike me in the community. A lot of people love me, but there's this certain people that dislike.
Yep.
We did a parade literally last week, and one of the ladies shouted in the parade, "You should be up there with the politicians. You'd fit right in." I'm like, we don't do anything wrong. We
No.
are going to be more expensive, but I thought it was funny because I
Yeah.
don't take that stuff personally. I got to take care of my family, my employees,
Yep.
and grow.
Yep.
So
That's just, I mean, they get mad because they don't understand,
yeah,
is really what it is.
yeah.
They have no clue what it takes to grow a business.
And I mean, one of the things my old boss told me was, I want to work hard. I want to be able to take a vacation. I want to be able to drive a nice vehicle.
Yep.
And because his predecessors in the area were charging 20 or 30 bucks to replace a P trap, and so he had that kind of pushback when he started too. And that really stuck with me, not just for me, but I want my employees to be able to have nice vehicles and comfortably take a vacation.
Yep.
And, when I kind of got on with Wealthy Plumber and you, that was one of the things that stuck out to me was the pay that you've suggested, like for your guys,
Mm-hmm.
which I've kind of implemented, is just you basically take what people are paying in the area and go way higher than that
Yeah.
because you want to take care of your guys and have the best employees. So
I don't know. Like here, like we're paying our dude wash techs that make $35 an hour. They're in a pressure washing company here paying more than 20.
yeah,
And I'm like, I don't know how they live off 35, to be
yeah,
honest with you. Like they're making 70K a year. To me, that's not enough. I mean, they have the opportunity to make more with
right,
commission, but I can't ethically pay somebody, especially a man because like I'm very old fashioned. The man's the breadwinner.
right,
He should be providing for his family. He should have a job that can do that. If we're providing a really high level service and I'm requiring a lot of these guys, I can't ethically bring them into my business and be like, oh, but I'm only going to pay you $18 an
yeah,
hour.
yeah,
I just can't do it.
yeah,
It doesn't feel right. Whenever I hire people, I like lay 3 things on the table, like my phone and something else. And I'm like, look, there's 3 people involved in this transaction because I got to make sure they're okay with our prices are slightly higher than everybody else's in town. And I say most business owners discount their customers to screw over their employees. What ends up happening is then the business owner doesn't make any money and he ends up pushing on his employees even harder to work harder.
yeah,
I'm like, I can't do that here. I don't feel right about that.
mm-hmm.
So here, we give you everything you need. We make sure you have all the proper equipment, the proper training. We make sure you're paid well. And then we charge the customer accordingly for it.
Yeah,
And we give them a really good service.
yeah,
And the business owner gets to make money that way. The only thing that gives here is that, our customers have to pay more. That's the only sacrifice I'm willing to make because I can't run a business any other way.
yeah.
It just doesn't seem right.
I remember there was a time where I had joined Tradewinds. I had gotten my pricing somewhat where it needed to be. I found a price book. They have a price book. I started using it. But I still, it's like January, February, March, negative 20,000, negative
Yeah.
10,000. Like, what am I doing wrong? And so I sat down with my buddy Aaron, who's actually who introduced you to me. And
Is that Benoit?
yes,
Yeah.
Benoit, or
Ben-
I think it's
yeah.
Aaron Benoit.
I met him
So,
at the thing. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yep.
But I sat down with him and we're looking at my numbers, and first we realized I needed to charge more, but
Yep.
also my markup was so low.
Yeah.
But I remember him telling me, you got 2 options. You can up your price and lose a few more customers, but make more money, or you could start playing the volume game, which is what I had pretty much done my whole career.
Yeah.
And I knew the burnout that I had, and not only just financially taking care of your employees, but mentally, I knew I did not want to go volume with my work because I don't know how you can keep guys when you expect them to work crazy hours
Yeah.
until 7, 8 o'clock at night
Yeah.
sometimes, So I stuck with my guns. We raised our price and it's really helped. I mean, we've been up and down. But overall, from that point on, it's been pretty consistently successful.
Yeah.
So we just started building van 4. I got it done. But I had to kind of hit a hard reset with my business back last September because I had gotten my pricing right with Aaron. And things went great for a while. Like there was 1 month we hit like 35% profit, which to me just blew my mind, just seeing how much money you can really make when you're where you need to be with your numbers. But they started going downhill, and kept having talks with my guys like, look, we have to follow these core values and follow these processes, show why we charge what we charge, you know, because if you're not delivering quality, you can't charge premium rates. And so over months' time, things weren't changing. We were having callbacks. People were angry. We weren't giving options. People just weren't following the process. And I told the guys, I had 2 at the time, and then I had my apprentice who was part-time, and my CSR. Said, look, I see the goal here. I want to grow to like Dude Wash, $150 million company. You know, the sky's the limit. And, but I will do this without you guys too. Like you don't have to be with me if you're not going to follow these same goals. So, and then within a week, you know, I gave him a chance. Within a week, I let them both go because nothing changed, and I was not messing around anymore. I had a daughter. She's 8 months old now. So, but you know, it really, having a kid made me feel like I have a lot more responsibility financially. You know, especially with my wife being stay at home. Not that I didn't take things seriously before, but I got to take things very seriously because everybody's counting on me, you know? And so that, I think I've never really talked about that, but I think that's having a baby just really helped change my mindset a little bit.
Puts you
Which
on a
might have
whole
helped
nother
you a
level.
little bit when, I don't know, when you were young and had a kid, just step it up, I guess, you know?
I didn't have that like 20s where I got to go party. Always had kids. It was just how it was. I didn't even think about it. It was just, oh, I'm married. I got kids. My wife stays home. I got to go to work. Luckily, I got a good job making decent money. And honestly, reason I made good money is just because we worked 60, 70 hours all year. And got paid well and had good benefits. And it was just what I did. Became like my identity. Was who I was.
I could definitely relate to that. But so at that point I went solo, which was the smallest I'd ever been, because it was my CSR and me and my apprentice who's still with me. I didn't let her go because she's on board with everything that I have, but she was in school, and so it was just me. So that whole month of September, I was just go, go, go. It was 60, 70, 80-hour weeks, like 7 days a week. And
when was this?
This was September of last year, so not that long ago.
So you rebuilt from basically yourself to now almost 4 people going in just a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's been good. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's worked out really good. Just having not only Trade Winds, but Wealthy Plumber, just having these different groups that you can go to and just feel like, hey, this is what's going on. And seeing the success of other people and them being so transparent about it, it's inspiring, really, you know? And that's what made me realize that I could start over. Talking to some of my buddies, you had started over several times with your businesses, correct? Somebody told me
fourth
that.
time was the charm.
Yeah. So I remember one of my buddies, he said, look at Jared, look at where he's at. You know, he had to start over, you know.
It's stupidity is what it is.
Yeah.
I don't remember who said it, but they were like, Stupid people make the best business owners because they're, anybody smart enough, they would never get knocked down as many times
Yeah,
as
yeah,
you have to be successful in business.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
Mitch had Mitch Smedley had a similar quote. Just if maybe you're not stupid, but if you don't think about all these bad things that can go on, and you just
Oh
think
yeah.
about the good,
Oh yeah.
so many people are successful just because they don't look at the bad and they just see all the positives,
Yep.
and it works.
Eternal optimism.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's like growing prospector and growing dude wash are two different animals because with prospector I was ignorant and it was bliss. Like like I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know how to hold people accountable. I didn't know what KPIs. I had no clue, right? It was just one day at a time. And we would come across a problem and I would fix that problem. And then we would keep going and then it'd be like, here's another problem. And we would fix that problem. Dude wash, it's like I know what's possible. And so I've made the mistake of just pushing my guys way too hard because I'm like, dude, guys, come on. I'm like measuring all their KPIs
Yeah.
and it's like you're failing at all of them. So what's going on?
Yeah.
But I've had to learn how to like step back and be like, okay, let's solve one problem at a time. Let's make one step forward. And then after, if we can make a step a day,
Right.
we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But yeah, the ignorance is bliss. I'll tell you that for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
I mean, when I've since I met you, just seeing where Prospector went has always been like a goal, could I get to that point? And
Oh
to
yeah.
hear that it's not just a steady climb to the top, you're gonna
No.
step back, and to hear that that's happened to you was really made me more comfortable starting over because I
Yeah.
know people have gotten out of that before.
Yeah.
And so I started over, and so September I was by myself, and I think we did like $82,000 in revenue that month, which was more. Our best was like 72, and so by myself I did more
Yep.
than we had ever done because I was only one in the field, but I was following our processes.
Yep.
I was doing what needed to be done.
That's
Now
like
I
a boost
don't.
of confidence too. Yeah.
It was,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know that I don't know that it was realistic to hit that every month by myself. Maybe it was, but I knew I couldn't sustain that by myself. Just
Yeah.
7 days a week, just these crazy hours. My brother was on spring break, or no, it wasn't spring break. They have fall break in Tennessee. I don't know if they have that here in Alaska, but they have fall break
I
for
don't
a
know what they
week.
have here, but I know they don't have that in Alaska.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, he was on fall break. Then I drug him with me to work every day. I was like, I need somebody to help me
Nice.
because he was feeding me water lines. We were doing a repipe and stuff. But so I remember I was just working real hard one day. I texted my CSR. I was like, we got to do something. Like I can't keep doing this. And so we put out some ads, and I did an interview with I think 3 or 4 guys, and first guy, he's still with me right now. I just really connected with him. I could see that he saw my goals
Mhm.
and where I wanted to be, and I felt that he was all in. And
Yeah.
so I that was on a Saturday, and he started with me on Monday, and he's been with me ever since. So
Cool.
the other 3, I you think that you know everything that you're doing when you run a business, and one thing I've learned that I don't know is the best way to do interviews and to read people. And
Mhm.
so I always have like this overly trusting personality,
Yep.
and
Yep.
then you bring them in and it's like, oh, well, this sucks.
Yep.
But so the other guys, I brought one guy in, and he just he didn't have the mindset of service plumbing. He was union new builds all his life, and so it
Yeah.
was just a completely different ball game. And I didn't feel the willingness from him to learn. I always gave guys opportunities, and if we had a conversation and I notice the same things after that. Like, I have responsibilities as a father, as a, business owner to my other employees. I got
Yeah.
to take care of myself first,
Yep.
And so through that process, I've ended up finding 3 really good plumbers, that have really kind of grown into my core team. We still have, day-to-day issues. I think I need to get my SOPs more dialed in, and right now we're going through the process of switching to Service Titan, which you
Cool.
inspired me to do,
Cool, man.
when I met you for the first time in March. Um, but I'm still waiting.
It's gonna be a pain in the ass, but it's gonna be
Yeah,
so worth it.
yeah.
I promise.
I'm super excited to be able to actually track my numbers,
Yeah.
because what we use right now is just not very accurate,
What are you using?
House Call Pro.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny. I remember one month, like 2 years ago, I saw some crazy number that said revenue we had done, and I was like on a high horse for like a week, like, oh, we did all this, and I went back and we had done like a third of that number. I don't even know how it got so skewed, but I can't. It's so hard to track. I can't
Yep.
sync QuickBooks with it. It messed my books up so bad
Yep.
last time I tried.
Yep.
So
House Call
I'm
Pro is known for that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it was kind of funny. I went through a few different bookkeepers before I found the one I have now. But when I was trying to clean up my books from House Call Pro, because it was like double recording sales,
Yep.
one of my bookkeepers was like, I really think we just need to get you a new QuickBooks account because this is so messed up. I don't think it's fixable. And we didn't end up doing that, but it was just it was bad because I couldn't even pull P&Ls. Like, I didn't know what my numbers were because it
Yeah.
was so messed up.
Yep.
So it felt like a lost puppy because I didn't know what to do.
Yep.
So
Yep. My
But-
main complaint about House Call Pro is that you have no idea what your efficiency is.
yeah.
And you
Yeah.
can't measure it. And just from like once I learned about efficiency and I started focusing on that in Prospector, they made massive difference.
Really?
Oh man, it was crazy. And I was thankful that I was on Service Titan and we could track that by person. And then as a company whole,
Yeah.
and then work on it.
I'm looking forward to just all the different analytics that you're gonna get from it, because we had a really slow start to the month. Like, and we have these different spreadsheets that we track stuff on now, and my CSR gets a little irritated. I think that she has to go in and enter all this stuff.
Yeah.
So she's excited when we switch to Service Titan, but you have to go through this whole process just to find out your efficiency. I think ours was like 33% or something crazy to start the month. And it would be so nice to just pull up on a browser, hey, this is what it is.
Yeah.
So I can attack it right then and there.
Yep.
Rather than spend all this time putting it into a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Know? So.
Yep. 100%.
But we kind of went through a mindset issue this month. My guys, they've all came from companies that are $100 an hour, cheap, chucking of trucks,
Yeah.
And so when I brought them all on, I literally printed out my P&L from last year, and I showed them the differences between where I was before, not charging right, not following our processes, to where I am now, charging right, following the process. And, they could see it and they believed in it. And then we got this horribly, horribly, horribly slow stretch, end of March, beginning of April.
Yeah.
And they're like, are we doing the right thing? Do you think we should start dropping our rates, all this and that? And so we had a meeting a couple weeks ago, and I just kind of went over everything we do, the confidence that we have to have, and it works. We just weren't getting the call volume that we needed.
Yep.
And maybe not capitalizing on everything on every job.
Yep.
Maybe we were, I don't know. But it's just very comforting to see a week after that, we just been killing it because our call volume was fixed. And, just had to talk to the team. And
what was the issue with the call volume? Was it just low volume in
Yeah,
the
I
marketplace?
think so because it seemed everywhere. My theory, which I know this isn't a political show,
Yeah.
but I think that the scare with the tariffs and
Yeah.
everything
I think so too.
really had a lot to do with it,
Yep.
which really it hasn't even affected us, as far as for my supplier,
Nope.
not that I know of at all.
Yep.
But it seemed to me it was too much of a coincidence for all this to come out in the news for us to just drop in call volume,
Yep.
and then now it's picked back up. So
Yep. And that's, yeah. The funny part is it always picks back up. It
yeah,
never lasts forever.
yeah,
So whenever we got slow at Prospector, our go-to was like, we don't drop prices. If anything, we got to charge that customer more right now.
mhm,
And
right,
so I would tell my guys, hey, call volume is down. It's not going to last forever. But if you guys want to stay busy and keep them commissions coming in, you got to work extra hard on every single job. So slow down, take your time, become best friends with that customer,
yeah,
and sell them as much stuff as you possibly can.
yeah,
Take the best care of them ever. And it was always a good reset for my guys because we would go through like busy season. Like busy season Alaska gets nuts. We'll be booked out 2 months with 7 guys. Just can't handle it all. And so they start rushing through their jobs and they get into that habit of that. And then slow season is like boom. And they're like, they don't know what to do.
yeah,
And it's like we would just sit them down and say, hey, call volume's down. Means you got to work extra hard on the jobs you got and make the best of it. Don't know what to tell you.
yeah. Did you see them capitalizing on more?
They would, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep. Yeah.
just pointing out issues that they would have ignored in the past
Mhm.
because they were so busy.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Like we did like boiler installs. I remember when I put my commission, first time I started paying like a commission based on revenue produced. And I showed the guys like we would do a few thousand boiler tune-ups every year. And I just showed them the commission and I printed out the spreadsheet, the same one you get in the course that shows if you bill out this much, you make this much. If you bill out
Yeah.
this much, you make this much. And our average boiler install is like 30 grand. And I said, hey, called out somebody in the room and I said, what's your paycheck like if you guys bill out 30 grand in a week? And somebody was like, I think it was like, it would be their normal paycheck, which is already like 3 grand plus another 2 grand. It was like 5 grand.
Yeah.
And so I was like, how'd you guys like to make 5 grand in a week? And they're like, that'd be awesome. I'm like, okay, I know you would. How do you do that? And they're like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, you sell one boiler and you get it installed in a week and you make 5 grand. It's that easy.
Yeah.
How many boilers do you go to in a year? And they all go to like 300 boilers each. I
Mhm.
said, how many do you think you would sell if you just offered a new boiler to everybody that had a boiler over 10 years old? And they were like, probably quite a few. I said, start offering.
Yeah.
And so we would. It'd be slow season, and my guys would start having the conversation with the homeowner, like, "Hey, your boiler's over 20 years old. Lifespan on them is 15. It's going to become. Usually, it's starting to warm up during slow season. It's probably going to become an issue at some point in time. It'd be a really
Right.
good time to get it done right now." And we'd end up selling a boiler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing on one of the recent podcasts you had, you were talking about how you went through an exercise with your team where it was like yes or no signs or
Yeah.
something.
I love doing that.
And the one that stuck out was you said, "Is it okay to sell somebody something they don't need?"
Yeah.
And I think my immediate answer was, "No, it's not okay." And
Yeah.
then you explained it, and it's like, well,
We buy stuff we don't need all
yeah,
the time.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think that's huge if you can implement that mindset.
Yeah. And we take that a step further of, you know, if you don't sell them what they wanted and you only sell them what they need, that's actually a disservice.
Yeah.
Right. We use that same analogy. I don't know if I said this on the podcast, but one guy walks in and buys a flip phone. The
Yeah.
other one buys an iPhone.
Yeah.
They get together And the guy who bought the flip phone didn't even get the option to buy an iPhone, and then he's jealous.
I'd be so mad.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm locked in a 2-year contract for the flip phone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then it's like, but it's the same thing when we go to people's houses and they don't know that, like, they might have a short round front toilet with a lid that slams shut, and they don't know that they can have a tall, elongated bowl,
Right.
soft closed lid that'll flush anything and everything they put down. They have no clue. And so you're just over there withholding that information
Yeah.
from this customer who would love to buy that from you. But instead, she paid you hundreds of dollars to repair this piece of junk toilet that she doesn't even like.
Yeah.
And she could have had something that she would have liked way better. And to me, that's a disservice.
Yeah.
And a lot of those customers, if, like, I can't tell you how many times I've gone to a house and I'm not even there for the toilet, but they're having a problem with their toilet, or I see the toilet and I end up selling them all new toilets for their house because it's such an easy thing to me.
Right.
I go open the lid and I slam it shut. I'm like, does this bother you? Does your husband do this in the middle of the night? Slam. And yeah, I'll be like, they make like these really cool things that soft close.
Yeah.
You ever see those?
Yeah.
And they're like, huh. I'm like, yeah, it's awesome. And you know what else? See this toilet seat? How it's like round and wood and it's all nasty. These ones are like contoured to your butt cheeks. I mean, and it's just it's just talking to the customer and communicating their available options and then showing them how much those cost and letting them make the decision on what it is they want to buy from you that day.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that, I feel like you're failing your customers, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a tough mindset to get across to guys.
Yeah. I think still struggle with that some,
Yeah.
because you don't want to be the you don't want to have that salesman stigma, but
Yeah.
the way that you explain it, it makes complete sense to let them choose. You're not trying to sell them any,
No.
you're not trying to take advantage of them. Give them the options, let them make a decision.
Yep. The hard part about that for most people is that, like, I couldn't just come in your house and build you estimates for new toilets. It would be weird. It would be irrelevant, right?
Yeah.
And so I have to come into your home and ask you, relevant or intelligent questions. Like, how long do you plan on living here? How long have you lived on here? And I'm obviously usually there for a problem. It's like, how long is this, like, has this problem happened before? When did it happen in the past? Like, do you have any other problems that you want me to look at? If I'm in the bathroom, it's like, hey, I'm already looking at this toilet. Would you like me to just check out your other toilets while I'm here?
Yeah.
Those kinds of things. And then you can kind of get a sense of where the customer's at and what they value and what they're, they would just want the thing fixed, or do they want a long-term solution? Well, I'm going to build totally different estimates for different customers, right? And so, and I think that's the hardest part, because most guys, they come from the idea that we fix the broken thing and that's it.
Yeah.
And if we do anything else than that, we're ripping people off.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're salesmen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a hard stigma to get past.
Very. Yep. And so I would always try to figure out what those beliefs are that my guys are believing, and we would play that game, like yes or no. The night before, I would write out my questions, and the questions were designed to lead them down the path that I wanted to lead them.
Gotcha.
But it forces them to come to their own conclusion, because all you're doing is asking a question.
Right.
I think questions are unbelievably powerful. Like in training, sales processes, like if you can ask a question to the customer rather than telling them something and then they have to think about it and tell you the answer that you wanted,
that's huge.
Oh yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We I think we need to implement that more in our area. We struggle with trying to just do the cheapest fix, because my small town that I currently live in is very impoverished, and it's well, I don't know if you want to say above or below the national, I guess it'd be above the poverty rate And so we go into a lot of these houses where like they're only making 30, 40 grand a year. And
Yeah.
so it's so hard to get over that hump, but you still need to go and give them the options and let them pick.
Well, so my training for my guys, if we go into somebody who's making 30 grand, if we just do the Band-Aid fix and they got to call us back in 6 months to spend another $1,000
Right.
to do another Band-Aid fix,
Yeah,
that's going to cost them more. Like
exactly.
those are the customers that we should really be saying, "Hey, here's a long-term solution for you."
Yeah.
It's the best bang for your buck because they don't have the money to spend.
Yeah.
Like it's even more important. They would be better off financing a long-term solution today than having you come out every 6 months to fix whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
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 I'm looking forward to some of the financing options that Service Titan has
Yeah.
too, because we're limited to one right now, WiseTac.
Yep.
And I believe Service Titan has a few different options, right?
Yep. There's quite a few that integrate with Service Titan.
Okay.
Service Titan will tell you too. I think Green Sky and Service Finance. But then, I mean, you can do WiseTac, you can do Synchrony. There's a whole bunch.
We had one guy, and he still works for me, but one of the first weeks he was on his own, he went to like a $900 service call, which for us that's a higher than average. Our average ticket is like 700, which I would like to get it up.
Yeah.
But that's where it's at right now because we have a lot of people that choose this lesser option all the time.
Yep.
But anyway, he went to the service call, $900 something. The lady applied for financing, and he did the work same day. And it was that was the smoothest transaction we had ever had with WiseTac. It was like if we could do that all the time for people that couldn't afford things, we would sell a lot more.
Yep.
Because sometimes people just struggle with the financing, or we don't offer it right.
Yeah.
Or, WiseTac only offers like some stupid like $500 a month option,
Yeah.
So it blew my mind when I saw how easy that was. And he's like, I called him after and he's like, well, did I do something wrong? I said, no, that was perfect. I wish every job could go like that.
Do more of that, please.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had pretty good luck with Service Finance. Even if like a customer got declined or there wasn't a plan presented straight away that fit their needs, we would always just call them up and get on their customer service and say, right in front of the customer, okay, I'm sitting here with this customer. We just applied for financing. Do you guys have any other plans available that would fit their needs a little better? The monthly payment is a little high.
Gotcha.
And they would go back and help us out and work something out and typically get people approved.
That's awesome.
The only thing we ran into was, people with a really low credit score.
Right.
Those get tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's we have. I think our area is there's so many pros, but there's so many cons to it too. The poverty for me is a con. I think I probably let it affect me more than it should. But some of the pros are in the county I work in. We work in like 6 counties because we're all over the place. Like three or four of them, you don't even have to have a plumbing license to own and operate a plumbing company in the county. So we'll go under brand new houses or old houses, and everything's just completely done wrong.
Yep.
And so there's so many sales opportunities.
Yeah.
You just the customer has to realize your value because Handy Andy over here came and he plumbed that in for $300,
Yeah.
4 years ago.
That's why it's clogging up right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so there's a lot of potential in our area, and we're kind of growing too into a larger, I would call it a city. It's like 100,000 people, but getting into that is a little different because there are requirements for plumbing, but the customers immediately see your value a lot more down there because you have to have a licensed plumber to do the work, to pull permits.
Yep.
So a lot of us in our area now is trying to win over the customer and show them we're worth the value that they're potentially paying.
Yep.
Because they're so used to these cheap repairs. We had a guy 2 weeks ago. I think his P trap was leaking under a sink, and we gave him a price of like 360 or somewhere 350 to 400.
Yep.
And so he said no. So he paid our trip charge. We left. So he called back and he said, I just got off the phone with my old plumber, who by the way is 90 and still plumbs because he
couldn't retire.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he said that should have only been a $15 or $20 repair. No. Why would if that was your mindset, why would you even approved our $90 trip fee to come out, you know?
Call him out then.
Yeah.
Have him come fix your P-trap.
Yeah. It's just but that's so far.
Ask him why he's not retired yet.
Yeah.
Why he still has to come out and do that at 90 years old.
And that's what really sticks with me is I don't want to be doing plumbing when I'm 60 years old. You know, I won't be doing plumbing when I'm 60. I promise you that.
No. Heck no.
It's crazy.
The crazy thing is that the thing that gets me is like me and you know what it costs to run a business, and that we need to be willing to, like, when I call somebody, I always call the expensive guy. Like I look for the expensive guy because I don't want to support the guy who's going to be 90 and not have a retirement.
Yeah.
I would rather him fail now.
Yeah.
And either be more expensive to make it or not make it to 90 with no retirement, right? And still be working. I don't want to support that with my dollar ethically.
Yeah.
And trying to get other people to understand that it's almost impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like my yard guy, he was cutting my grass for like, it was like $30 a cut through a third party app who took, I found out later, they take like 40% of your money.
What?
And I'm like, so you're basically like paying me to cut my grass. I'm like, you're like paying to cut my grass. It's costing you money basically. And we eventually like got him off the app and I started paying him directly and then got him in and helped him with his pricing. And what ended up happening is, so I had a bunch of friends that moved down from Alaska that we all ended up living in the same neighborhood. And so I got them all using my grass guy.
Yeah.
Because he's a cool guy. And I was like, hey, call him. He'll cut your grass. He does a good job. He shows up. He's reliable. He's a cool guy. He's way too cheap, but
right.
I'm going to work on that. So I got him to raise his rates. And my buddy Alex, he calls me and he goes, did you talk to the yard guy? And I was like, hell yeah, I did. He goes, I'm paying like twice as much now to get my grass cut. And I told him, I said, well, before that, he was basically it was costing him money to come cut your yard. He made $0 that year. He lost money in his business and he couldn't afford to feed his kids. He's married. Like he was having a really rough time.
Yeah.
And when you were paying him too little, you were supporting that. He goes, I don't care about that. I was like, dude, I hate you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a turd. I mean, he'll never listen to this, so I can say whatever I want, but I'll tell him that to his face anyways.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if now you're actually paying a guy who can run a legit business and take care of his family, isn't that something you'd rather support with your dollar? He goes, that's not my problem. I can get a cheaper yard guy. So he did. He got a cheaper yard guy.
Wow.
And I wish that could get communicated to more people.
Yeah.
And that they would be willing to fork over more money for quality service where people are getting paid well.
Yeah.
Because that would only help everybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's so many people just traditional and set in their ways in Tennessee. And, you know, I wouldn't say everybody, but the average home there is a single wide or double wide modular home, you know.
Yeah.
And if you go out and you charge enough to be able to buy a couple acres and put that on there, you know, they think that's winning. And I mean, maybe that is winning for you, but that's why I'm not going to charge $30 to replace a P-trap, because I don't want to be there. And I don't want my guys to be there either. You know, I want everybody to be higher than that. And like you said, you vote with your dollar, and where you give your money is important. So,
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
It's a struggle. That's what we've been really switching. I think long term, our service area is going to be more in that larger town
Yeah.
than the rural area we're at, just because of that mindset. I don't mind still servicing our area,
Yep.
but it's so much easier to run a business when we're getting down into the larger town.
Yeah. I
So
think that's a legitimate way to start a business, though, is even if you're in a larger market, to hit those outer areas that most people don't want to serve, because it's easier to market to.
yeah,
It's easier to break into. And then as you start ranking and stuff, start moving into the bigger towns, even
yeah,
though it's not a huge town,
yeah,
right? But even, I mean, 100,000 people, you could probably have I mean, shoot, Prospector had 60,000 people. We did in 2024, they did 6.2 million.
that's awesome.
And so that's a heating and plumbing. It was
Yeah,
probably 2 million plumbing,
yeah,
but you could easily have a $6 million plumbing business there. No
yeah.
problem.
I heard that one of the companies in town, and they're not like huge franchise like Roto-Rooter, but
Hmm.
they're a decent franchise. But I heard they were doing a little over 13 million. I don't know the extent of the service area,
Yep.
but you know, I definitely think there's value down there.
Oh yeah.
Um, and finding the right customers where we're at now. But
Yeah.
growing my business was so easy with word of mouth and just like parades. You know, we go through
Yeah.
the parades, we throw toilet paper out, we throw rubber duckies out,
Yeah.
and all of it has our stickers on it. And, you know, you have the personal touch of these small towns. All these small towns in our area have these parades, and they see you giving back, and they want to give you business too.
Yep.
And um, but then the word of mouth can kill you too if you get to pricing where you need to.
Yep.
But I don't mind being known as the most expensive as long as they're not complaining about the
Yep.
quality of work.
Yep.
So,
That's what I always said. If
but
somebody's complaining about price, that's fine.
yeah,
Second they complain about anything else, we got to fix it,
yeah,
because we cannot have a reputation of being expensive and crappy.
right.
We have to be, those guys are expensive, but they're good.
Absolutely.
And that's what everybody would say about us. Those
Yeah.
guys are expensive, but they come out right away and they fix it right the first time.
Yeah, we had right before I came over here, we got a review. It's a 2-star review. It said work was good, but it was very expensive. Or I thought something complaining about price. And so I talked to the tech. I was like, "Hey, did you do this, this, and this?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I said, "Okay, well, I just want to make sure before I replied to the review and everything." And he's like, "Man, I'm sorry." And I said, "No." I said, "I really don't mind that review at all because that's exactly." Said the work was good, but the price wasn't, and I'll have a professional response. And hopefully, people are that are reading it are going to see that and know, "Oh, okay, well,
Yeah.
I might pay a little bit more, but it's going to be done right."
Yeah. I would
So
still call that customer.
yeah, I probably
Yeah.
should.
And just I mean, I found that just having honest conversations with people, because they think the price is high and it's just a lack of understanding of how a business works
Yeah.
is why they think that. And if you can have that conversation with them, even if they don't agree with you by the end of the phone call, they'll still appreciate it.
What do you how in depth do you go in those conversations?
It's hard because you know, they can only have a certain level of understanding. But, you know, my general manager probably got the best at this. He would use other analogies like, you can go to a restaurant and get, a $20 steak, or you get a $100 steak.
Right.
And the steak, the cost difference in the steak isn't that much. It might cost them $10 or $20 for this steak and $40 for this steak, but what you're paying for is the experience and the quality service that you received and the nice atmosphere, and a whole bunch of other factors go into that. And he would tell people, like, you wouldn't go to a nice steak restaurant and ask them, well, how much does that cook get paid?
Yeah.
How much does the chef get paid? And how much does the waiter get paid? And how much does this steak cost? And try to math that down and figure their rate,
Yeah.
And he goes, this, it's the same thing here. We have bills that we have to cover. We have to cover office and marketing and people answering the phones. And there's a lot more that goes into it than just labor and materials. And,
Right.
we want to provide our customers with a really high quality experience. We don't believe in doing subpar work. We believe installing things properly with properly paid technicians, properly paid technicians with the proper equipment. And all those things cost money.
Yeah,
And we would much rather defend our prices than sub quality work. So
absolutely.
that's where we come from.
Gotcha.
You can have that conversation with the customer and they'll appreciate it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I could definitely work on that because
Yeah.
I'm very I'm the type of person that I would rather not get in an uncomfortable conversation,
Yeah.
but that you can only grow if you put yourself in uncomfortable
Uncomfortable.
positions.
Yep. Yep.
But
I've literally had conversations with customers where they called our business and the CSR told them it was going to be, they went through the whole spiel and at the end it's a $96 diagnostic charge. And they were like, whoa, 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 I want to talk to your manager. And they threw a fit. And I call them up and they're like, hey, I hear you got a $96 diagnostic charge. And I'm like, yep. And I just explained to them like, look, I'm going to come to your house and any work we do, there's not going to be anything cheaper than $400.
yeah,
And honestly, for me to send somebody out and you pay me $96 to not do any work, that $96 doesn't even cover the cost of sending that technician out there.
right.
This guy gets paid this much. He's got benefits. He's highly trained, highly skilled. He drives a van that's got, it's probably worth $100,000 that he's driving out there. Gas prices aren't cheap. Insurance on that
Right.
van isn't cheap. And so the only reason we even charge this diagnostic fee is because if people aren't willing to pay that, they're typically not willing to pay for the service.
Right.
And so it's not even about the $96. And they're like, and once you explain it and they can kind of understand, they go, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
And I've had tons of conversations about, I've told customers I'm not going out there for less than X amount of dollars.
Yeah.
It's not worth it to me. I got a business to run. I got families that
Yeah.
rely on me to put food on their table. And I
Yeah.
don't take that responsibility lightly. And so we will do business with customers that we can be profitable with. And that's
Absolutely.
it. Yeah.
Do you ever follow like those customers that you've had conversations with? Do you ever try to run a report to see if they followed through with the work, if you did get it scheduled?
Oh, you mean like go see what happened at the job?
Yeah, if someone calls and they complain about the trip charge and then
Yeah.
you personally call them,
Oh,
do
yeah.
do you ever see like did that job convert
You'll
when
have
they go
some.
out there?
Yeah. I've never tracked it like a percentage. Yeah.
I'm just curious if those are typically really low dollar jobs at that point or if they ever convert to something bigger. But
It's probably both, would be my guess. I think the reality is when you call most customers, they really just want to be heard.
yeah.
And they typically have something going on or some outside circumstance that is causing them a lot of grief and headache. And then they call your business and something didn't go as planned. And so now they're unhappy about it.
Right.
Really, the reality is they're just unhappy.
Yeah.
And now they're just taking some of that anger out on you, the plumbing business owner.
Yeah.
And if you can call them and hear what they're going through, number one, you'll be like, man, I am so sorry. Like
Yeah.
that's terrible. And then number two, because you're a human being and you feel for them, they just drop their guard and they quit being angry at you.
Right.
That's typically what happens. It's usually not as confrontational as you think.
Yeah.
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 I had some advice given to me too when we went through that really scary slow spell is to go back and to reach out to these customers that didn't convert too
Oh yeah.
and just call them and say, hey, what could we have done to convert? Or, was there anything, just try to get their opinions and thoughts.
Yeah.
But I didn't end up doing it. I probably will at some point. I think
Man, if you can talk
there's a
to
lot of value.
your customers and see what they're thinking, it can be so insightful.
Yeah.
Even just like going to like an event, like we did a home show for Dude Wash, and just hearing how the men and the women and the husband and wives interacted with pressure washing, just witnessing that was so insightful.
Really.
The wife would see our booth And she'd be like, "Oh, pressure washing." And the husband would like steer her along. Nah, we ain't stopping there.
Yeah.
Right. And then the wife would come back, or the husband would come back and be like, she made me come back.
Yeah.
And so it's the wife that wants the house washed. And the men are like embarrassed. They're like, I wash my own house. Very few men were like, oh, you do pressure washing. So it was like an interesting dynamic. We got to get into our customers' minds for a
Right.
minute. And also I got to hear concerns of like, we had people come up and ask us questions like, do you guys use bleach? And I'm like, yeah, we use bleach. And then they turn around and walk away. And I was like, oh, they must have had a negative experience with bleach.
Yeah.
So now if I get that question, or I know that there's a need in the marketplace for a non-bleach wash, or we need to start communicating how we mitigate the risks of
Right.
bleach. Like that's an important part of hiring a professional is
Yeah.
a non-professional will go burn your grass and your plants and ruin your roof. But when you hire us, we're more expensive, but we've got the training to do it proper. We've got the equipment to do it the right way.
Yeah.
And that just builds value in our customers' minds. So yeah, listening to customers is awesome,
Yeah.
I think.
I think that I definitely need to implement that more, and you can only grow from it. It's
Oh
not going
yeah.
to be something that you're wasting your time on. There's always going to be benefits of doing that.
Yes. I heard, I can't remember where I saw this, but it was, man, I'm so bad at names when I need them.
Yeah.
And it takes me a minute to think of them. Charlie Munger's business partner, Warren Buffett.
Okay.
I watched a video of him and he was talking about how to be successful at business. And he was like, if you look at every successful business owner, they constantly strive to delight their customers. Like that's their main goal. So he used like Jeff Bezos as an example. Like he worked really hard to get you more products, worked really hard to get you cheaper prices, worked really hard to get it there faster, worked really hard to make it more convenient, like just constantly trying to delight his customers. Elon Musk with his cars worked really hard to get the prices down, worked really hard to make something fancy, to make it as aesthetically pleasing on the inside, to make the buying process really cool. I think it's really important to be thinking about that.
Yeah.
Especially in the home service world where what we sell is people. We sell experience. Like we don't really sell plumbing, right?
Yeah.
We sell ease of use. We sell peace of mind. We sell quality of product. We sell the person that's going into your home is highly trained and highly skilled and friendly and he's going to do a good job. Like that's what we sell.
Yeah.
And to make you ever read the book Raving Fans?
I think it's on your list, isn't
That's
it?
a good one, man.
Yeah.
And you could read it in like an hour.
Really?
Yeah. You could
Okay,
even
I'll
get
read
the
it.
audio book
Yeah.
and listen to it on your way home.
Is that what it's about? Just kind of.
It's about, it's told in a really cool way where he takes like a story. It's almost like like the guy dies and he's like his ghost and he's going around and visiting these other businesses.
Okay.
I remember one example. He goes to this gas station and this gas station has higher gas prices than everybody else in town, but yet they're slammed. And it's because when you pull up to that gas station, like they created this process and this experience of getting gas that nobody else has been able to experience. At the other gas stations, you got to pump your own gas.
Yeah.
Nobody says hi. It's dirty. Well, they created this really clean environment where people come out and greet you. They pump your gas and they make way more money than everybody else. And they created people who, instead of just going and get gas there and forget about it, they're telling their friends like, this is the greatest gas station ever. Like creating these raving fans, right?
Yeah.
It's a cool book.
That's really cool.
Yeah. You should check it out.
I think that there's so much potential where I live, and there's never been anything, I guess, out of the ordinary. There's never been these vehicles that drive by that are just like in your face, or things like that. And so I really want to capitalize on everything that I can to set us apart and help the experience,
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
Yeah.
So what's the plan with Tennessee's Choice? Like what's the goal?
my initial goal has always just been to build it as a retirement and then sell it at some point.
Mhm.
I think that's probably still the goal.
Mhm.
See I don't see myself selling soon. I see it being like a long-term thing.
Mhm.
But I just want to grow and grow. I don't want to limit myself to 5 vans or 10 vans. I want to get as big as I can
Mhm.
and just continue learning from that.
Yeah.
I don't see myself just giving the business to, if I were to have a son or something, I don't think I would give it to them.
Mhm.
I just feel like there's so much work to be done that, you know, I want to sell it at some point. I
Yeah.
uh I was really when I went through that kind of reset back in September, I was really discouraged for a while,
Mhm.
and so I thought about selling. I got in touch with a broker, and me and my wife were maybe gonna move, and we didn't. But when I got the number back from the broker, I was expecting like half that number, and it really gave me a lot of confidence just
Mhm.
to see because I make my salary, but I don't always see all these late nights or you know,
Yeah.
this extra work. And so when I saw that number, it was like, oh wow,
Yeah.
and so it's really kind of drove me to continue because it will pay off
Oh,
in the
yeah.
end.
Yeah.
So I just wasn't I guess I didn't, see all the work that I've put in to be priced at that. And
Yeah.
so when I saw that I was really, really confidence boost.
Yeah. You're
So
building equity
yes.
in your business. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess my other goal is to get to a point where it operates without me.
Yeah.
Being down here for a few days, it works, but I've got to get back up there, within a week or things aren't going to go very smoothly.
Yep.
So I would love to at some point step out of the field full time. I'm really not in the field much now, but step out of the field and then from that point eventually step out of that and bring a GM in to
Yep.
where I can more of just watch from the sidelines kind of
That's when the
thing.
fun begins in my
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
But
was
seeing you do that really kind of inspired me a lot.
cool.
So,
That was probably the most enjoyable time of owning a business.
really.
Like it was very stressful in the beginning, like watching all my money disappear.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then and then, we just grew it so fast and people were telling me I was nuts and I didn't really know if I was nuts or not. It was just what I was doing at the time and I
Yeah.
was just hoping it was going to work out and then we went through a time where, we didn't make any money growing it. Well, I was very very lucky like our bills were super minimal.
Yeah.
My wife was working as a teacher. We lived off her income, like 52 grand a year, which is a
Wow.
low income in Alaska.
Yeah.
And all the money that the business made, like I managed to save up like 80 grand that like the first 6 months. And then I watched all that disappear.
Really.
Like we got down to just a couple grand in the bank and I got like 6 guys at the time and I'm freaking out. Like, how are we
Yeah.
going to pay? Like, wake up Monday morning and I know payroll's due on Friday and there's not enough money in the bank
Yeah.
and I'm freaking out. And my wife was always the one that had like the common sense of like, you're going to make money during the week.
Yeah.
And I was like, I hope we make money during the week. Like,
Yeah.
it's not a guarantee.
Yeah.
And then, we'd always get through it. And I think, after that like first full year where we grew from myself to 7 guys and a GM and 2 CSRs, by the end of the year, we did 2.8 million in revenue and I managed to keep 200K.
Wow.
So there was 200K in the bank. And it was the weirdest thing because before like 200K in the bank, that was the most money I'd ever seen in a bank account. And that would have seemed astronomical. Like I would have been so ecstatic that there was
Yeah.
200K in the bank. But I remember looking around and seeing all the responsibilities and how much money the business could suck, right?
Yeah.
And I was freaking out. And then we started losing money for like quite a few months in a row.
Wow.
It's like very similar, 20K gone, 30K gone, another 20, another 30. And I remember it was probably May. Let's see, that would have been May of like 20. Couldn't have been 23. It had to be 22. And I remember walking out, thinking about raising prices, but I was scared to death. I thought, because we were already 425, the next cheapest company was like 200.
Yeah.
And then everybody else is 150 or less.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's no way. Like I was thinking my employees are going to quit. And I calculated I needed to go to 610 from like 425 to 610. And I remember looking at all the people in my business and going, I didn't know what else to do. And I probably told this story like a million times on this podcast. Maybe you've heard it, but I remember thinking like these guys have families to feed, like that immense responsibility to make sure that everybody's taken care of. And it was like a make it or break it moment of, I don't know what else to do and I have to do this.
Yeah.
And so overnight we went from 425 to 610. And then that was the first month that I made, like June was the first month that I made 100K profit. And then we just maintained that from then on out. And it was fun because then we got to like really start working on making the thing work.
Yeah.
Like we started to get working on our culture. Like I built our culture there it went through a tough time.
Really?
Of just, I kind of built, I'm a nice person and I'm very trusting and it serves me well in some aspects. But then what ended up happening with Prospector is everybody kind of felt entitled there. And then the entitlement started to grow and grow and grow, and they wanted more and more and more. We didn't have the right snacks in the snack thing. They didn't like the beef stick brand or whatever.
Wow.
Or, when we started to make money and people started to know it, that's when that started to set in, and we didn't know what to do about it. And it was, to my general manager's credit, he fixed it.
Really?
Like he went home and read books, and he came to me one day and he said, on a Zoom meeting, he said, you built a culture of entitlement here. And I was like, damn, you're right. He said, you were too nice. He said, I just read in this book, we get more of what we tolerate, and we have tolerated too much in this business. And I said, okay, well, let's fix it. He's like, okay, it's not going to be fun.
Yeah.
And we started just putting our foot down on stuff and not tolerating what we didn't want. And man, 30 days later, completely different business.
Really?
Yep. 30 days.
Wow.
Completely different. We had to fire one person.
Really?
She was not happy.
Yeah.
But man, we fired one person and one person quit. And it was the best thing we ever did.
Was it just calling out people for all the little things, or what was it more?
If there was something in our business, we had to identify like what we didn't want to tolerate. And by not tolerate, I mean, these are fireable offenses. Like if you do this, you can't work here.
Gotcha.
And we will hold strong on that.
Yeah.
And so what it was is like, okay, there's all these things like that are nice, that are nice. I would love it if you did this, but am I willing to fire you over it?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So we identified what those things are that we're willing to fire over. And then we make sure to communicate those. And then when somebody would fail at that, we would make sure to pull them aside and say, this cannot happen again, or you're going to be out of here.
Yeah.
And if they did it again, they were out of there. And just having that strong, stern line of, this is what we expect, and if you can't rise to these expectations, you can't work here. Most of the people just got better overnight. And it created, like, everybody started getting along as well.
Really?
They needed that accountability and the leadership. There was a lack of leadership and accountability. And once we put that in, it was a whole different company. It was crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like we would have one of our guys would come in and he was a total dickhead. He would like yell at the CSRs, and and give them a hard time, and we would put up with it. And so we pulled him aside and we said, we're not putting up with that anymore.
Yeah.
You come in here and yell at the CSR ever again, you're fired.
Yeah.
And I'm serious. Don't test me on that. Sure as shit. He never came in and yelled at that CSR again. And it's so funny because we were, most of the guys you're scared to fire, it's because they're some of your best revenue
Yeah.
producers. But your best revenue producers typically have the worst attitudes. And so you put up with their attitudes because they produce revenue. And reality is if you didn't put up with their attitude, one of two things would happen. They would quit, or you would fire them, and then your other guys would pick up the slack, or they would come to work with a good attitude and actually produce more revenue because now they're a better fit in the company.
Yeah.
And that's what we found.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think it's only fair to strictly outline things too, because if you're going to pay the best wages and offer the best type of work environment, it's going to come with maybe some stricter guidelines. But if you operate under them, then it's going to be great for everybody. You know?
People rise to the level of your expectations.
Yeah.
100%. And
awesome.
Like my GM, he would always say, when I hired you, we created a contract. I pay you X amount of dollars an hour to come to work and perform the other side of the contract.
Yeah.
These things here. If I, for some reason, didn't get you your paycheck by Friday, you'd be in my office, up my ass in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Isn't it fair for me to hold you to that same level of standard? If you don't hold your end of the contract, I get to come to you and tell you, hey, you're not holding up at your end of the contract. And they go, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I can see that.
100% makes sense.
Yeah. It made a huge difference in our company.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It was cool.
That's really cool.
It was one of the, culture was one of those things that people would talk about that I didn't understand.
Yeah.
I thought it was free donuts and, breakfast on Thursdays. And being super nice, and we'll have a great culture.
Right.
But it wasn't true.
I guess probably it hurts culture if some other guys see people getting away with things that don't get said.
Yeah.
Would be my guess. I don't know.
Yeah, your good guys suffer typically.
Yeah.
Yeah. The ones who are actually a good fit for your company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Just, I have worked for a place that the culture was horrible, and I worked for a place where the culture was okay. And just the vast difference between horrible and okay is so much different. It's crazy. Just as an employee, it's so much better to work, to be happy going into work, and to know that your coworkers are happy as well.
Yeah. To enjoy going to work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It sucks if you don't like where you work. That's my big thing now. I tell, our core values at Dude Wash they're like work hard or go home. One of them is get shit done, and the other one is have fun.
Nice.
And I tell all those guys, it says have fun, and then right after that it says having fun here means working hard and getting shit done. So if you're not going to do those two, we're not going to have fun. And I always tell them, I got to work here too. And to me, working hard and getting stuff done and doing it at a high level is fun.
Yeah.
And if you're not doing those, I'm not going to have fun. And this is my company.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have fun here. So if you can't do that, you don't get to work here. End of story.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's fun to me this time around. Getting to build it with a little more insight. It's annoyingly painstaking, like I said earlier. My lack of patience really gets to me.
Yeah.
But it's also cool because there is a little more insight into building a good culture and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Or even what that stuff means. My core values and my mission statement and prospector were silly. They were useless.
Yeah.
Because I had no idea what they meant or how to communicate them or what they should be, or even even what I wanted them to be. I couldn't have told you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you talked about this on a podcast a while ago, when you're an apprentice and you think you know everything, and
Mhm.
then you give it 2 years and you look back and you're like, I didn't know
Yeah,
anything
dude.
then.
Yep.
It's the same with business. And
Yep.
I mean, I'm sure I'll look at this conversation in 5 years and think, wow, I had a lot to learn when I was sitting right there, you know.
That's
So
everybody though.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I still got a lot to learn. It's fun.
Always learning. You could be a plumber. You can be a plumber that's worked for 30 years but only trained for 5, or you could be a plumber that learns for 30 years. I saw a post about that the other day. It kind of
Yeah.
inspired me.
I like
So,
that one. It's good.
yeah.
Well, cool, man. Thanks for coming on.
Cool. Thank you for having me. This was awesome.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
See you, man.
See ya.